CEO is going to stay on stage as she is actually delivering our next presentation, helping us see the last decade of what's been happening here and, of course, what's to come next. So congratulations, over to you.
Thank you. It's been really an amazing day today, and it's amazing to also finish the day on this note. There's a saying in Silicon Valley that hard tech is hard, and it's actually true. Software really can reiterate in a few weeks, but when it comes to hardware, you really need to put together a lot of engineering expertise, supply chain intelligence, and a lot of mechanical infrastructure as well. However, what we've seen with Mercedes-Benz and with the anniversary that we celebrate today, over the past 140 years, the automotive industry has never stopped reinventing itself. We've been through a lot of waves. We've seen mechanical engineering. We've seen mass manufacturing happening, also thanks to advancements in industrial production with the assembly line that was moving autonomously. We saw engineering excellence as the next wave, where we borrowed and we understood how the automotive can become safer, more quality, and more performant. And also when it comes to the electronics compute era, we taught the car how to sense. More closer to today, we looked at electrification and ways of really reinventing the powertrain. And recently with AI and robotics, we're really going into a next era of physical AI. But the message has been clear. We need to borrow from other industries and from other worlds, and this is why Startup Autobahn was also born 10 years ago. We wanted initially to borrow from Silicon Valley, from the energy, from the nimbleness of startups in Silicon Valley, to combine it with the corporate units, with the business units, and the engineering powerhouse that we have here in Stuttgart. What did the work look like back in 2016 when we started? Well, we thought AR was the biggest application out there, and we spent a lot of time really catching Pikachu. I don't know how many of you remember that one. We also thought that VR was the next biggest compute platform. So if we look back to this picture, we saw a full room of VR glasses, and we thought this is how we are going to work and exercise and meet people in the next future. Also, back in 2016, AlphaGo from DeepMind was just revolutionizing and beating the world champion at the game of Go for the first time ever, basically unleashing the era of really deep learning and reinforcement learning that we are utilizing today in our AI age. In the automotive space, there was a lot happening. However, EVs were considered niche. There was less than 1% of new cars being deployed on the market being EVs. We also saw that mobility as a service was picking up, mostly thanks to mobile payments infrastructure being established. And we also thought that self-driving, so autonomous driving, was only 5 years ahead of us. Well, we had Waymo spinning off from Google, we had GM buying Cruise, we had Uber as the most really valuable private startup in the world back then. Also, we had some threats from Apple. They were rumored to build the Apple car as well. In terms of what we did then at Startup Autobahn, well, we rolled up our sleeves and we thought, let's do what we know how to do best. We started borrowing from other industries, from other disciplines, and the first one was borrowing from photonics and optics field. We worked with Luminar, back then Series A startup from the US, and we implemented and tested a solution with Mercedes-Benz, also eventually getting their way into AMG F1 cars. They were really reinventing the LiDAR infrastructure sensors. Back then, a LiDAR sensor was about $75K to produce, and they really rethought the architecture to make it more nimble and useful. We also thought about computer vision and AI, and there's a KIT spin-off startup called Atlatech that really used AI and computer vision to create 3D high-definition maps for autonomous driving. They were then noticed by Bosch and acquired by Bosch at the same time. We then also thought about scaling these solutions. So together with Zendar, a startup that tries to fuse different radars around the car into one virtual sensor that can act as a LiDAR, in essence, in terms of performance, we integrated the knowledge from NXP as well with their zonal and MCU infrastructure as well, and radar processing technology, and we spinned it off in an implementation story, which also ended up as an investment story from NXP. Later on, we thought about navigation and improving the experience that we had in the car. Mercedes-Benz was the first one to pioneer voice-only navigation in the car. You only had to spit out 3 words from the dictionary in order to get to your desired location. That was what 3 words? I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with them. But then why stop at the screen and the infotainment system and not really make the car itself an immersive experience? We worked with HoloRide to provide gaming-like experiences in the car, also with NXRT to provide augmented reality solutions, and we also looked at Fourscreen, who had several implementation pilot projects as well with Mercedes-Benz to bring really location-based digital marketing in the car. We explored blockchain as well before it became popular. There was a Porsche car that was tokenized on an Ethereum marketplace, but also blockchain when it comes to smart contracts. Together with Madison, BSF, Porsche, and Circular Tree as well, we created a supply chain, a small automotive supply chain that could track CO2 emissions for a car part. And also we looked together with Daimler back then, of course, to establish a mobility blockchain platform. Not all of these ideas materialized, but we did learn a lot. When it comes to leveraging material sciences, this is something that we spent a lot of time on. We were the first ones to introduce a thermoplastic bio-based in the car that was made 100% from household waste, together with UBQ materials and Mercedes-Benz. And we were also the first ones to actually turn CO2 emissions, again, into a car part. This was, again, with Mercedes-Benz and with a team called 12 coming out of research and academia in Stanford. We also borrowed further to create new types of materials with sustainability in mind for the car interior. We did different types of materials. We looked at cactus in Mexico. We looked at different types of algae. We looked even at pineapple leaves. We also experimented with recycled plastic from ocean waste as well. We looked at rattan palm trees that grow very fast in Indonesia and have a very special structure. And we also looked at mushroom and mycelium. Of course, here a special mention to Madison, who has really pioneered a lot of these material sciences projects in the car. But then the biggest impact when it comes to circular economy and sustainability came from the project that you've also probably seen today, Scilib and Porsche. Scilib invented a new water-based recycling process that helps reduce emissions by a lot, and they're now validated with Porsche that the batteries can really be used for a Porsche Taycan as well. Moving ahead from the passenger cars, we worked a lot also in heavy duty over the past few years. And here I would like to highlight ZF and Rage Energy, who have spent a lot of time not only reducing costs when it comes to the electrification of trailers, but most importantly also reducing greenhouse emissions by up to 70% in their project that was publicized already one and a half years ago. All of this, of course, has been exciting, but the next age that we've explored was generative AI. Here, the first use case was in the enterprise, trying to digitalize and to modernize different legacy codes. Here, I would mention Cognition AI, which was mentioned also by Ida at Mercedes-Benz recently on the stage. But also, I would mention Certivity, so different AI applications for regulatory and product compliance for engineering teams, or BlockBrain, who really helped us understand better the knowledge management of enterprises and create agentic AI workflows. Moving ahead, outside of the LLM worlds, we're now really exploring physical AI, and we're trying to introduce automation and robotics in the manufacturing shop floor as fast as possible. Some special mentions go here to Schaeffler and the humanoid team. They were well recognized on the stage also today. It's the largest scale partnership that has been today announced in terms of humanoids. And also another special mention would go to Acumino, DXC, and Schaeffler for the work that they've done in this space. Finally, we saw a lot of unicorns really crossing the Startup Autobahn teams' desktops and meetings before they actually became unicorns. This is just a snapshot of the examples that we've seen. And we have really been busy over the past 10 years to try to sift through the noise, overall screening 37,000 startups, accelerating, introducing startups, bringing them to meetings with our partners in over 5,300 of these meetings, and then finally running about 585 pilot projects. So we've been really busy. Happy birthday, Startup Autobahn, for your past 10 years of innovation, and we really, really cannot wait to see what the future holds for us.